So let's go to something that happened yesterday, okay? Joe Kent, not Jeff Kent, Joe Kent, yesterday, out of nowhere, puts out a tweet. And by the way, before we read this, Rob, can you do me, this is the Director of National Intelligence, National Counterterrorism Center. Rob, can you do me a favor and first go to the tweet that he has pinned to the top of his Twitter account? At the top of his Twitter account, he has a tweet from the president. It's pinned. Thank you, President. It's an honor to serve our nation again. Time to keep our nation safe and strong. It is my pleasure to nominate Joe Kent as the Director of National Counterterrorism Center, as a soldier, Green Beret, and CIA officer. Joe has hunted down terrorists and criminals his entire life. Above all, Joe knows the terrible cost of terrorism, losing his wonderful wife, Shannon, a great American hero who was killed in the fight against ISIS. Joe continues to honor her legacy by staying in the fight. Joe will help to keep America safe by eradicating all terrorism from the jihadists around the world to the cartels in our backyard. Congratulations, Joe. It's February 3rd, 2025, okay? A little over a year ago. Then yesterday, he puts out this tweet. Rob, can we first show how many views this tweet got? He puts out this tweet. Zoom in, 784,000 likes, 234,000 retweets, 67,000 comments, 87 million views. Let's read the letter. Here's what the letter had to say. After much reflection, I have decided to resign from my position. I cannot in good conscience support an ongoing war with Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it's clear that we started this war due to the pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. And by the way, that quote right there is what's gone viral. I support the values and a foreign policy that you campaigned on in 2016, 2020, 2024, which you enacted your first term. Until June of 2025, you understood that the wars in the Middle East were a trap that robbed America of the precious lives of our patriots and depleted the wealth and prosperity of our nation. In your first administration, you understood better than any modern president how to decisively apply military power without getting us drawn into never-ending wars. You demonstrated this by killing Qasem Soleimani and defeating ISIS. Early in this administration, high-ranking Israeli officials and influential members of the American media deployed a misinformation campaign that wholly undermined your America First platform and sowed pro-war sentiments to encourage a war against Iran. This echo chamber was used to deceive you into believing that Iran posed an imminent threat to the U.S., and that should you strike now, there was a clear path to a swift victory. This was a lie and is the same tactic that Israelis used to draw us into a disastrous Iraqi war that cost our nation the lives of thousands of men and women. We cannot make this mistake again. As a veteran who was deployed to combat 11 times and a Gold Star husband who lost my beloved wife Shannon, a war manufactured by Israel, I cannot support sending the generation off to fight and die in a war that served no benefit to American people nor justifies the cost of American lives. I pray that you will reflect upon what we are doing in Iran and who we are doing it for. The time for bold action is now. You can reserve course and chart a new path for our nation, and you can allow us to slip further into decline. You hold the cards. It's an honor to serve in your administration and to serve our great nation. Now, this is what he said. The response to it after this went out. Rob, can you go on the tweet and let's just read the top 20 comments and see who responded to it, just to see what the market is saying under his tweet, because the market's reacting to it. No, just go under his tweet. Yeah, there you go. So, Cenk, make note of everyone's criticizing his patriot. It's a good way of separating who works for Israel and who doesn't. Every Israel First neocon will now either call him a traitor or that Trump's fault. Okay, great. That's his position. Next, interesting. What is that? Joe Kent's tweet. I personally think we should have crushed their ballistic and nuke capes, but Trump has a plan. He has definitely earned the confidence of any clear-eyed observer. January 8, 2020, 6 years ago, go a little bit lower. Now the most toxic voices. Okay, keep going lower. That's the family. Dan, we got that. Just keep going. Just leaving this here. Okay, keep going. Well done. Keep going a little bit lower. Nothing else major. Okay. Boom. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going, Rob. Keep going. Okay. So then if this is the stuff that we're seeing, I think right afterwards, there was a lot of different people that responded. We have few of them. So let's go through a few of these things that he said. This is him 3 months ago on Sean Ryan. What does he talk about here on this one, Rob?
This is where he talks, I believe it's the threat to America that Iran poses.
So this is just 3 months ago? Or
Yes.
This is like 3 years ago?
I believe it was 3 months ago.
Okay, let's listen to this. Go for it. Okay, so in this part, he is saying that Iran is still a threat. How does the president respond to it, Rob? Do you have that clip?
I do.
Okay. So let's go, guys. I'm going to come to you. We got a few other things. Speaker Johnson, there's a bunch of different guys that reacted to it, and we can process it together. Go for it.
Your director of national counterterrorism, Joe Kent, he just resigned today. He said he can't support your conflict with Iran. What's your reaction to that? And did you?
Well, I read his statement. I always thought he was a nice guy, but I always thought he was weak on security, very weak on security. I didn't know him well, but I thought he seemed like a pretty nice guy. But when I read his statement, I realized that it's a good thing that he's out, because he said that Iran was not a threat. Iran was a threat. Every country realized what a threat Iran was. The question is whether or not they wanted to do something about it. And many people, many of the greatest military scholars are saying for years that president should have taken out Iran because they wanted a nuclear weapon. They were, if we didn't do the attack, or if, I'll go a step further, if I didn't terminate the Iran nuclear deal given to us, one of the worst deals ever made by Barack Hussein Obama. Remember when they sent Boeing 757s over there, loaded with cash, hundreds of millions of dollars? You would have been very happy. This was a wonderful, they sent hundreds of millions. People forget that. Does anybody remember? Right? You remember. Hundreds of millions of dollars in a Boeing 757. I think they had two of them loaded. They took the seats out and they put cash. And it was so much that there wasn't a bank in Virginia, Maryland, or D.C. that had any money left. They stripped them of all their money, put it into place, sent it to Iran, almost as ransom. That's not going to happen with Trump. And nobody ever
You can pause it
did
right
anything.
there. You can pause it right there. So Joe Kent, with his letter, with what he said, Tom, where are you at with it?
The guy changed. You see people, there's a lot of people in American media, American government appear to be shifting. And he is clearly shifted. You can't say Iran wasn't arming and funding Houthis, Hezbollah. You can't say that. How do you possibly say that? And he himself gave statistics about the number of attacks on our bases and our interest in the region. Not just interest, not like an oil refinery, oh, I'm interested in that. These were our men and women in arms that were attacked. How can you say Iran is not a threat? You can debate the nuclear. Was it 4 days? Was it 4 months? Or was it a year until they had nuclear weapon? Well, they were sure testing missiles. They were building they were building ballistic missiles. So you can talk about that, even if you want to debate how close were they with centrifuges and refining the uranium. But to say that Iran wasn't a threat, after you go back and everything, I do know this. The guy's a patriot. He's a decorated soldier. He endured one of the most horrible losses you can endure. But I don't understand what appears to be a radical change in position.
Jeff.
Yeah, there's a couple things here that really stick out. One is to parse his statement, which, I mean, what else are we going to do, right? We're going to parse every last word. When he says imminent threat, I tend to agree with him because, we talked about this a couple weeks ago. Mark Moss had that wonderful chart that showed missile production going faster than our ability to destroy it. So I think the idea, I don't want to say this is, Iraq WMD, but I think it's the same kind of idea here, that the Trump administration said, I don't believe that there was a plan by Iran to attack everybody overnight. It wasn't an imminent threat. I think the idea was, if we're going to attack Iran and get rid of their leadership, we have to do it now. It was the imminent threat. Maybe wasn't it wasn't an explicit threat. Which, I mean, you can argue about that, but if you wanted to read his statement charitably, there probably was not an imminent threat. Of course, I have no idea. I'm not a security expert by any means, but just going off the language of what we've been talking about, I don't think there was an explicit imminent threat that said we need to go attack Iran. If that's your problem, obviously he was in favor of doing something about the Iranian leadership. Maybe he doesn't like the strategy that Trump has chosen to do something about it. You could give him the most charitable view. However, I have a problem with right there in the first quote, or the first paragraph, bringing in the Israel and Israel lobby. That changes this entire character to something political. So if it was just an analytical statement where he left that part out, I would say, look, I mean, yeah, maybe he's probably right. There's something to the statement. By bringing in this whole Israel lobby, it changes the character of what he's trying to say, and it makes it.
I have a lot of thoughts on this. Brent, I want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, I could totally see the side of people being upset about another foreign war. I mean, we're $30 trillion in debt because of the last foreign war in the Middle East that we got stuck in. So, I mean, we see that, but also Iran's been something that we've probably had to deal with for the last 48, 49 years. Like, it's always something that we were going to have to face at some point. I don't think that they have the enriched uranium that people are saying they do, but I do think that they're probably the biggest problem in terms of world instability, in terms of Middle East instability that we did have to address at some point. If any administration was going to address it, I'd want this one to be the one to do it because, I think Trump actually listens to the military generals and chooses the best plans to go forward with instead of kind of putting the handcuffs on the military the way that a lot of other presidents have. So I don't know if it's been executed perfectly yet. I think a lot of his other military attacks or military missions have been done pretty perfectly and meticulously. But if anybody was going to be doing this, I'm glad it's him. But yeah, I could see the argument where it's not the best thing for America because it could cost a lot of money and lives. So I can see both sides of it.
Yeah, Rob, do you want to pull up? The tweet by Tulsi? There you go. Donald Trump was overwhelmingly elected by the American people to be our president, commander-in-chief. As our commander-in-chief, he is responsible for determining what is and is not an imminent threat and whether or not to take action he deems necessary to protect the safety and security of our troops, the American people, and our country. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence is responsible for helping coordinate and integrate all intelligence to provide the president, commander-in-chief, with best information available to inform his decisions. After carefully reviewing all the information before him, President Trump concluded that the terrorist Islamist regime in Iran posed an imminent threat, and he took action based on that conclusion. So the way I read this, I don't read this as supportive. I read this as, he is responsible if he sees an imminent threat. And whether or not to take action, he deems necessary to protect the safety.
She hates this.
And the Office of the Director of National Intelligence is responsible for helping coordinate and integrate all intelligence to provide the President and Commander-in-Chief with the best information available to inform his decisions. After carefully reviewing all the information before him, the President concluded that the terrorist Islamists were so. It's almost a neutral towards Trump statement. It's not fully towards Trump. It's written so delicately to create possibly an opening in case she gets fired or she steps out.
She's saying, I'm on the team, but I didn't do this.
That's kind of how I take it, right? Because to me, Tulsi's a independent centrist. Some people may even say she's a center leftist, but I think she's a center right today, a little bit more. She's moved. This is my challenge with all of this stuff that you're hearing with what Joe Kent just said. There are a lot of things that came out with tweets that he's made about Iran, okay, and about the president. That's very supportive. Rob, which clip is this?
This is Caroline Levitt. She was just asked a few minutes ago.
Okay, go for it. This is good if it's recent, because then I'll get into what I'm going to say. Go for it.
Tulsi Gabbard's job in jeopardy right now, given the Joe Kent stuff? Not to my knowledge. I haven't heard the president say that, nor have I heard him say that. So obviously that's a question for him, but I haven't heard him to say that at all. And can you give us an update?
What's that? She said what?
That she hasn't heard President Trump say that Tulsi Gabbard's job is in jeopardy over Joe Kent's resignation.
So, but it's also not a firm. Played one more time, Rob?
Her body language is weird, the way she answers that.
Played one more time?
Tulsi Gabbard's job in jeopardy right now, given the Joe Kent stuff? Not to my knowledge. I haven't heard the president say that, nor have I heard him say that. So obviously that's a question for him, but I haven't heard him to say that at all. And can you give us an update?
Okay. All right. So, Rob, can you pull up this one tweet? I don't know if you have it or not. This is a tweet from Joe, okay? This is a tweet from Joe, if you want to pull it up. He said this a year and 4 months ago. Not this one, Rob, the other one. I just sent it to you, Rob. Just look at your phone. I just sent it to you. He said this retweeting a tweet from the president, okay? Iran has been after Trump since January of 2020, after he ordered the target killing of terrorist Qasem Soleimani. This isn't a new threat. The Secret Service consistently failing to secure Trump is new. we need to figure out exactly why these failures are happening. So he said some stuff that he's making it clear that Iran is a threat. Now, here's my challenge. My challenge is you say that, you've backed them up. Now you're saying you think people are buying him and, not buying him. Israel is kind of getting involved and doing some things like that. And then you want to come out and say it publicly, becomes the most viral tweet of the day. Who did that benefit? Who did that tweet benefit the most? While we're in war, who does that tweet benefit the most?
Kent.
Kent?
Yeah.
Okay. So that tweet benefits Kent the most.
Yeah.
Who else does it benefit? I would have to say it benefits one other person as well.
Tucker.
I think it also benefits Tucker. Guess who's the first podcast he's doing?
Tucker.
With Tucker. And there's some rumors that while he was working there, he was sharing intel with Tucker. Okay, and that was passed down. Now listen, say what you say about Laura Loomer. If you want to pull this up, Rob, Laura Loomer had this one thing that she said about the exchange between the two. And let me see if I can find this. And as reported, his wife, reported Trump hater and fellow Jew hater, Mexican. I'm trying to see which one it was, because there was something that there was a communication saying that maybe allegedly some of the stories were being leaked from him to Tucker. So if there is a connection with how Tucker makes the video the other day saying, I don't know why the CIA is coming after me, and then now you're saying this, okay, that you're stepping down the day after, then you're going on Tucker. There's an alignment there, okay, between the two. It's very obvious. Tucker just announced right now that he's going to be going live with them tonight or something like that.
Yeah, his statement was political. It was obviously political.
Yeah, and to me again, but even above that, just go a little bit lower, Rob. Go a little bit lower. Even with the Israel stuff, actually, I'm not. With the Israel comments that he's making, fine if you have that. This is a bigger challenge for me. So we're in it. You decide to resign. All the timing of it is a little bit weird. Okay, you all of a sudden decide to resign, and after resigning, you go out and put the tweet, and then you go do the podcast. You're definitely not making Trump look good, okay? You're definitely not making him look good and where he's at. So I just have a hard time with that. I think the timing of it, you accepted the job, you went into the job, now you're getting out to do this. Now, look, this kind of stuff happens. There's a risk of hiring people, and it can get out, and it's not like, how typically there's what is the disparagement clause, Tom? Like, if you're leaving, no defamation, and any of that stuff.
No defamation, no social media.
Obviously, that stuff doesn't apply to here. So, I don't know. What's this, Rob? Which one is this?
This is the tweet that Laura Loomer put out yesterday claiming Joe Kent was leaking information according to many White House staffers.
Leaking to John Hudson. Who's John Hudson? Can you go to it?
Washington Post.
So John Hudson is a WAPO. Not a coincidence that Hudson chose to run to CNN during primetime tonight to attack President Trump for less than 12 hours after Kent resigned. Who told Hudson that WAPO, that Joe Kent and Tulsi Gabbard met with JD Vance to show him the resignation letter ahead of time? Wow. Okay, so there you go. Guys.
That's crazy.
But we talked about this as well last week. I haven't seen this tweet. Did the vice president agree with the blood libels in Joe Kent's letter in which he blamed Israel for his wife's death? Kent's wife was tragically killed by Islamic terrorists. Do you believe Joe Kent told Buckley Carson to tell his father he sends his regards when he met with JD? Wow. It's only one big family affair. Anything to blame the Jews and destroy President Trump. Why was JD, Tulsi, and Kent's first stop at the White House? Interesting choice. I don't know. I mean, look, one thing about Laura, you don't know what Laura's going to be saying, but a lot of people have gotten fired over Laura Loomer's tweets, and somehow, some way, she tends to get a lot of news from a lot of different people. But you're seeing the connections.
And gets it right a lot.
And she gets it right a lot. She gets it right a lot, and then people can come back and say a lot of stuff about her. Just the pro and the con about X. Debate it out, go to. But if there's a connection, the person that gets negatively impacted the most by this is who?
Trump.
No.
No.
Not true. Trump's going to move on. This is a 24-hour news cycle. Trust me. Trump knows. 24 hours, you've moved on. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Waltz, how long did that last?
Yeah, one
Boom,
day.
you moved on. This is not that big of a deal. You move on. But guess who was negatively impacted by this a lot short term?
JD.
JD Vance.
Yeah.
JD Vance. If it's true, which, by the way, how are you as the VP meet with him? That's not hard to document and find out.
Right.
If there was a meeting with Kent, with JD,
Tulsi.
Yeah.
with Tulsi's tweet is already a safe tweet.
Right.
That's a bulletproof tweet. And I'm a fan of Tulsi.
Mm-hmm.
So even when I interact with Tulsi, she's always very calculating on what she's going to be saying. She's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's why she does so well. But Tulsi's tweet is a protection in case she does get fired, that helps her for 2028. Because you got to also realize, if I'm Tulsi, I'm sitting there saying, I'm not being used.
Yeah.
How often do you see Tulsi being used?
Never.
How often do you see Trump using JD? Not a lot.
No more.
Why
not
not?
anymore.
Maybe he gave him the Minnesota thing or California fraud or some of that stuff that we're reading about. But this could lead to one thing. If this leads to, JD being a top candidate in 2028, or Tucker, because Tucker went from 2 to 4%, and he's now ahead of DeSantis on the odds. But if, let's say, JD runs, which the world now knows what JD's positions would be, he would need a VP like who? Believe it or not, a DeSantis. Because JD and Tucker is too much of the same thing. And so DeSantis would be the VP because you need the pro-Israel, you need those guys. So DeSantis will play that role because we know how strong he is, freedom of protecting, you can't comment anything on Israel.
Yeah.
And then JD does to DeSantis what Trump did to JD. Trump hired JD for a very good position. You
Right.
need a JD.
Yeah.
But he doesn't use JD that much. Do you think JD's in the inner circles of the inner circles? I don't believe so. So again, we're purely speculating. But while we're speculating, the 2028 Republican nomination for president on Calci, $22 million. Rubio is now at 29%. Look at third.
Oof.
Look at third, 5.3 out of nowhere. That's Tucker. But if you go on the bottom, the ones you have to look at that are critical VP positions, DeSantis is the one. DeSantis is the one. DeSantis is a very, very, very safe, solid VP position that is useful not to Rubio, that is useful to JD and Tucker.
Right.
Again, if it gets to that point. But this is all purely speculation conversations that we're having. So which one of you guys has the thoughts on this? Because I'll come to any one of you guys if you have anything to
Look, I think there's, setting aside the politics of it, I think there is, the reason we're talking about this and the reason this is such a big issue is that there is a legitimate debate about all this. Let's face it, the Iran conflict makes us uncomfortable, as it should.
Yep.
We should not be happy about this.
Yep.
So there is room for legitimate dissent. There is room for legitimate debate. Is the Trump administration executing and prosecuting the war with a correct strategy? Obviously, we don't know that because we don't know what their strategy actually is, and nor should we. He's right when he says, every time they ask him, what are you going to do next? I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah.
Why would I tell you?
Yeah.
So we're sitting in the fog of war. It is understandable why people would be would vehemently object to the idea of something like this because we went through Iraq. We went through Afghanistan. We don't want to go through those things again. And there's every reason to believe that we shouldn't be doing those things. So the reason this is such a hot button issue is because there should be a legitimate debate about this entire thing. Yes, we should be positive and hopeful, but let's be honest here. The history here isn't great.
The history isn't great whatsoever, but also at the same time, alliances are being built, and right now it's in the open.
Yeah.
Everybody's watching and saying,
That's the part that gets lost in this.
Yeah.
There is opportunity here. I think that's what
That's why I think
Trump
Ken left.
administration is. Yeah, it's
Say that again?
opportunity.
I said that's why I think Ken left. I mean, we're talking about Tucker being the candidate. I think Ken made himself VP. I know they're too similar in that regard, but I think there was an angle for why he left. I don't think he just did out of principle.
I don't think until yesterday's letter, Joe Kent, I don't know if he has been that, big of a name that you knew.
No.
If I ask you right now who Joe Kent was last week, I don't know. You're going to say, is he a second baseman for the Giants?
I was typing in Jeff Kent last time I was looking this up.
So,
No, exactly. You would have brought it up and said, but you remember the guy that interfered with the FBI investigation, making comments after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and you would have said, "Oh, that guy. Oh,
Yeah.
okay." But there was nothing else.
Good-looking guy, solid guy.
Yeah.
All of this leads to 2028, my opinion, AOC being the front runner.
Ugh.
If this goes the way it's going, if AOC gets the right people around her, AOC could be the president of the United States in 2028. And when people are like, you're crazy, I know. I'm telling you I'm not. You're out of your mind. Oh, the Republican Party. Can you imagine? Let's just say it's a Rubio, and give me a good VP. Pick a VP for Rubio.
Not DeSantis.
Rubio?
Give a VP for Rubio. Pick a VP for Rubio. Okay?
Gabbard?
A VP for Rubio would need to be who?
Tulsi?
No way. That's
No.
not going to work. That won't work because Tulsi's telling you what camp she's a part of.
Yeah.
Tulsi's with JD, with Tucker, quietly. She is.
You think so on the Israel stuff?
Oh,
Yeah.
not saying 100%.
Yeah.
I think she's there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, she's definitely an non-interventionalist. Yeah. So she's definitely there. But to me, camps are being made, and this 27-28 election will be very different. There's going to be so much disruption that Trump knew how to handle it. We won't know if, the Rubios and all those guys will be able to handle the chaos and inside the tornado of media at that level. We don't know yet.
And the right split, too,
We
which
don't
is
know
a weird
yet.
dynamic.
The right is split. Yeah, I mean, listen, even, but
Rubio, Marquayne, Mullen.
okay, so let's just say if that is. Okay? Say if that's who it is, huh? Pauly? Josh Hawley.
Hawley,
Okay, if he
same.
does, right? Hawley.
Yeah.
If the GOP gets her fingers in it, they'll be pushing for Stefanik or Huckabee Sanders.
Not
Because
going to
they'll be-
happen.
No, but they'll be the GOP money,
Yeah.
Pat.
You're
will
saying
be pushing,
Rhino money?
Yeah, they'll be pushing for a female.
That's the most boring ticket in the world.
I know.
Zero chance.
I don't disagree with you
Yeah,
strategically.
zero chance.
But I'm pointing out
Yeah.
that the GOP money machine that's in the middle that will dictate the conventions, the order of the primaries,
Yeah.
and buckets of money will severely attempt to influence it. And they'll be saying, what about Stefanik?
Yeah.
You need a female. That's what you're going to hear.
Yeah, yeah.
But I agree with you strategically.
Issues vary every 4 years, and we're going to see. By the way, here's the reality of it. We also don't have a clue what the hell is going to happen with this war.
Yeah.
Is it going to end good or bad for Trump? We don't know. If it ends good, guess what? They have to eat their words. If it ends bad, Trump's camp's got to eat their words. We're like, oh, shit. So we don't know anything yet right now. We don't fully know what's going to be happening and how it's going to be handled. All we know is NATO said no. China stepping out, playing quiet. We got USS Tripoli that's on its way to Somalia. We don't know what's going to happen next Monday, Wednesday. It's going to be very revealing how Iran's going to attack. We don't know what's going to be happening the next few weeks. And if it ends up being done less than 3 to 6 months, then the guys that said this is the next Iraq, the next this, the next that, they have to sit there and say, well, it's not.
Yeah.
But they're still going to come back and say, yeah, but. There is no winning, a certain 5% of people that no matter what you do, you're not going to win it. But,
Right.
All along, Rubio's coming up, okay? And Tucker's coming up as well. Look at Tucker here. 28%. He is coming up. I called this 3 years ago when I said Tucker is either he's campaigning for 2028 and he wants to run Churchill type of thing, a media. I called this 3 years ago. Rob, I don't know how many clips did I say this to, Rob, that we did this. We almost have to cut it. Eventually we'll do it when it becomes a reality. And I think he's playing that card. And he's playing it well. He's constantly in the news. Now, if anything happens with CIA coming out and arresting, changes the game a little bit.
Yeah.
It may even help him 10 times more, by the way.
Make him a martyr.
It may even increase the
That's
popularity
exactly
to the
what
roof.
happened when the
Yeah.
Dems got mugshots of Trump. It became the campaign.
He may
the
almost
look that
want
he
it.
gave.
He may almost want it. I do want to talk to you guys about something. A lot of you guys DM me and message me and say, hey, how do I become a member of the Cigar Lounge, the boardroom that you have here? Last night, I can't tell you how many people were here watching the great game of Venezuela against U.S. When Bryce Harper hit the home run, I mean, it was beautiful. And I'm like, this is the moment. My son Dylan called it that he was going to hit the home run. He hit the home run, but then we fell one short, and the score ended up being 3-2. Congratulations to Venezuela. I know how much this means to Venezuela. Venezuela's had a great 2026. Some may call it the greatest year 90 days Venezuela's had in 20, 30, 40 years is what people are talking about, the way they're celebrating. So congrats to the Venezuelan team. As much as I was rooting for America, I wanted Judge to hit that home run and have that victory, but you got to recognize it. A ton of people were here watching it. You know, just yesterday I did a podcast with Joey Merlino here, the allegedly, Rob, we have to say this correctly, the allegedly boss of the Philadelphia crime family. That podcast will come out. We had Eric Trump here. We've had Stephen A. Smith here. We had Tate here. We have a lot of people here that come to the club, the boardroom. So if you want to be a member, it's by invitation only. Everybody goes through background checks. You can't bring a cell phone inside. If you want to learn more, to come in here and network with others in South Florida at Fort Lauderdale at a high-end premier cigar lounge. We'll do Louis, the 13th events. We'll do different kind of events here that you'll come in and be involved. Go to boardroomcigarlounge.com, boardroomcigarlounge.com. Rob, if you want to put the link below, click on Become a Member, and one of our representatives will reach out to you. If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.